Remember this scene? Well, what if I told you that this sequence was the subject of not one, but 2 reshoots? Let's take a look behind the scenes and find out how this came to be, yeah? The original version of this sequence was shot on August 25th, 2018, just days before I was going to head back to college and a bit under 2 years from when I eventually aired this episode, May 2020. As I was a college student for 85% of hiimmarymary's run, I did a lot of my actual shooting way in advance and did the majority of my editing on campus. I shot the original sequence with my sister standing in as the veiled woman, and right from the start, there were a lot of problems. First off, lighting has never really been my strong suit, and the only options I had for lighting at the time were flashlights and the room's actual lighting. First run through, it was way too dark, you can't even see what's going on. I eventually moved some flashlights around to create a slightly better setup, but the whole thing just still felt mediocre, and I was left unsatisfied. Lighting behind Mary like that felt cliche, and I didn't have enough to additionally light the veiled lady. It was just messy, and I didn't plan very well. Second, when the scene was lit better, the layout of the room I shot it in had far too much going on in a room barely featured in the series. It limited the space my sister and I could work in and just didn't allow for much to happen. The framing was just bad overall. Not to mention, to hide my face, I did everything facing away from the camera, and it wasn't exactly engaging to have my back turned the whole time. Third, I was so far away from the camera that the audio recording potential was just generally very poor. You could barely hear anything, just bad, bad, bad. Whole thing was a mess, and I hated it from the minute I recorded it. I knew I'd do a reshoot, but I didn't expect to hate the reshoot as much as I hated the first shoot. I shot the second version of the scene on January 13th, 2019, while I was home from college. The second shoot was much better in several ways and much closer to what I was looking for, but a lot of poor planning let me make several mistakes that resulted in scrapping the shoot. This is why I say plan. This time, my sister wasn't around to stand in as the veiled lady, so I shot the scene twice, one as Mary and once as the veiled lady. I much preferred this setup to the previous one, shooting in the same room but facing the camera and kneeling up close to hide my upper face. A flashlight was taped just above the camera to light the immediate scene and kept focus away from the background. 2 big things went wrong. 1, I messed up the scene's focus in several takes. That was just kind of sloppy right off the bat. Second, I completely screwed up the alignment of Mary and the veiled lady when filming them separately. Typically when I play both roles, I film twice and just mask both shots together. The veiled lady's eyeline didn't match Mary's at all, and it looked way less like they were in the same scene together. I also didn't provide adequate time for either character, making the sequence I recorded with the veiled lady significantly shorter. I would have had to either slow down her footage or repeat the footage, neither option I was keen on. I just scrapped it all. I rushed it, giving in to an urge to just get it done, which led to sloppy mistakes and unusable footage. For the final shoot, the one I actually used, I shot it in an entirely different room, the hallway outside the bathroom, which was completely empty and far better for the scene. I scrapped the idea of lighting the scenes with flashlights and instead brought back the string of Christmas lights. The last time I used the lights was in The Darkness Moves, where Mary uses the lights as a kind of self-protection. Not only is it present, Mary is the one who plugs it into the wall. I think having it reappear during a scene where she's at her most vulnerable made for a nice callback, and a very subtle defiance of the veiled lady. I decided not to crop out Mary's face, and instead went with the hair route, which I felt was more visually engaging. The whole thing went way better, and looked way better too. Having empty walls also meant I could include scenes where the crawling darkness sneaks into the scene, and I was able to edit the lights to blink and glow slightly when the audience intercepted Mary. I was so much happier with this version. Ultimately, I think the lesson here is to never settle with something you're unhappy with, and to be more comfortable with doing reshoots. People aren't watching your stuff because of how quickly you can make a new video. They watch because they enjoy your artistic vision, and if you compromise that just to get something out quickly, what's the point? Doing multiple reshoots helped me find a setup that I was truly happy with, looked cool visually, allowed for callbacks to old episodes, and gave me more to add visually when it came time to edit. Thanks for watching. Want to see more from me? Subscribe to this channel and keep an eye out for new stuff. You can also follow me on Twitter at _k_dot. See ya!